on, so I got to re-say all of that times. Okay, so social studies, and we have a new topic. We're taking a break from history. We just finished the Civil War. We're going to take a break from history, and we're going to study geography. Now, earlier today, we learned that geo means what? Land. Geography might mean what?
Nature.
Nope. Study of land. Okay. Virtual friends, anything different other than study of land? There's a glare. Josie, what are you thinking?
I'm kind of cheating because my sister takes geography, but I know it's about how learning about the world and like kind of the history of it almost, and like learning about the continents and stuff like that.
All right. I like how you said learning about the continents. We are going to be talking about kind of. So when I say, so I can break that word down more. Geo means we heard that geo means land, and graph. When you hear graph, what does that make you think of?
The study. It really is a chart.
Like a chart. Jason says it makes him think of something like a chart.
Yeah, like a map, like a drawing.
Like a map or a drawing. I like where you're going with that. So we are going to be studying kind of some map type skills. And I know you guys might have talked about map skills before because you've learned about north, south, east, west, never eat soggy waffles, right? I know you guys know about that, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail for the next couple of weeks. So you guys are going to be collecting some vocabulary. So you guys, virtual friends, have this paper here that's on your thing. You can collect it on here, or you can use notebook paper because I'm not grading this, but you definitely need to keep these words listed because you're going to want to study them and know them. So you don't have to use this. It's on Seesaw if you want to use this, but if you want to use notebook paper, you can. You guys are just going to use this. I'm going to take it front and back. And you'll need to put it in a folder that you don't lose. If those crumbs fell on my floor, yeah.
That's bad. You're gonna be a murderer?
Jason, like you have to take it to that extreme. Do you really think I was serious?
Maybe not joking. Yeah, and Jason is literally Jason.
If you don't know by now that I joke a lot, I don't know where you've been. Wait, I don't know who's sitting there. And Stacy and Sophie, they're all gone. Okay.
Why is there two pages of this?
Because you're going to need all those boxes. Okay, so we're going to be going over some vocabulary words that have to do with geography. And I want to draw a poster like I did earlier, so virtual friends are just going to have to kind of bear with me a little bit because I think some of these words are going to do well. Let's see if I can get this up. I need, let's see here. You guys to be able to see me to be able to see you. So I'm going to have to drag you guys over here. Sorry. They made everything so difficult for me now. All right. Camera on the poster. And then what I want to project for you guys is a few words. All right. Now this, I'm going to present and drag, and I think then we'll be ready to go. All right, do not start copying the vocabulary words yet because we're not going to do them all, and we're not going to do them all in order that they're on here today. Plus, I'm going to enlarge it so you guys can see it better. So just hang with me for a second because I want to talk about a few things first. So one of the main things is we are talking about our Earth, right? I'm going to try and draw a circle that represents the Earth. Try. Pretty decent. Okay. Let me double check my poster here. All right. And the first vocabulary word we're going to talk about is the equator. Without looking, don't look. What is the equator? Do we know? Sam, what's the equator?
Like, the equator is really high because, like, that's what, like.
It is?
No, it is.
The equator is not a temperature at all.
I thought you meant like
The land around the equator.
Yeah, the land around the equator. That's what I mean.
I'm being tricky. Lily, what is the equator?
It like splits the Earth into the southern hemisphere.
Ooh, I know.
All right, it splits the Earth into a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. Is it a real thing?
No.
Is there an actual, like, thing?
No, it says imaginary.
Okay, so if we look at this, oh, I can't tap it. Boo hiss.
You can zoom in.
I sure can.
Wait, we're doing equator.
All right, so your first word, equator, it's number 5 on here. An imaginary line around the middle of the Earth. So for me, I'm going to draw my equator, and I'm going to use pink.
Is that how you know what's right?
Okay, and I'm going to write equator on it. I don't think this is the first time you guys have heard about the equator, right?
I like thought of like Florida and stuff.
Florida is not even close to the equator. Everything,
That was like hot. Well, Florida's really hot.
it is, but Florida's not near the equator, sweet pea. All right, so here we go. On my globe, I'll put it really close to you guys. The equator is actually like a dented in spot on the globe that goes all the way around it, right? It's an imaginary line. There's not actually a band going around the center of the middle of the Earth, okay? But it divides the Earth into the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And Zeke was very, very interested in talking about hemispheres this morning when we talked about the 4 spheres in science. But this is a different sphere, right? This is northern, southern. And when we say hemi, what does hemi mean? Anybody?
Hemisphere.
So sphere we know is like a ball shape. So like the globe is a sphere, or the Earth is a sphere. But if I say hemi, the prefix hemi, what does that mean?
Half.
Well, I don't know specifically to do that. I don't actually know what it means. When I think of hemi engines, like.
Okay, Zeke said he thought of like a hemi, like on a truck or a vehicle, like a type of engine, right? Does it mean land? Hang on, let me double check it. Let me double check it because I don't want to give you the wrong information. It doesn't mean land. Of prefix hemi. Half. It means half. I was pretty sure it was half. Just wanted to double check. Hemi means half. So we divided the Earth in half. A top half and a bottom half. A northern half and a southern half. Okay? So that's hemisphere. We have the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. That is because of the equator. So up here we've got northern hemisphere.
Is the equator in South America?
Yes.
Northern hemisphere. And then down on this side we have the southern hemisphere.
Do people live everywhere?
Do people live everywhere? Everywhere that there's land except for
North Ocean. South Pole.
Antarctica. Okay?
People can live in Antarctica.
Nobody really does, I don't think. You can be there, but not really for any length of time. It's just too cold.
You can't live.
And there's not, you
Live
can't.
in like a dome. Yeah, that's what.
Okay, we're gonna focus. We're focusing. Okay. All right. So where did I lose my list? All right. So equator was our first word. Now we've got another fun word, prime meridian, and it's not on your sheet. So now we're talking about. I'm gonna quit presenting for a second. Prime meridian. Anybody have any clues? Have you heard of this before? Know anything about it?
No.
Okay, quit copying these down. Because so far I've only told you equator, so if you're writing other things down, stop. Prime meridian, Lily, a guess?
I've heard of it, but I don't know.
Heard of it, don't know. Maggie, guess?
I was asking, do we have to write down?
You want to write on your sheet or on your paper, whatever you're using, you want to write equator and then write this. Imaginary line around the middle of the earth. It divides us into the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay. All right. And guesses on prime meridian, and then I'm going to tell you what the prime meridian is. Prime meridian, Zeke, what do you think about it?
Well, I've heard this. So, heard this before, and I think I've seen it on TV shows and stuff. So I think this is my educated guess on it. Well, there's like a meridian sea, and like it's like, isn't it the savannah?
Okay, watch this. I'm going to divide the earth again into hemispheres.
Oh yeah, the eastern hemisphere.
But now I'm going to divide it into an east and a west hemisphere.
Ooh, those are the North Pole and South.
So there is also an imaginary line that runs from what would be the imaginary North Pole and the imaginary South Pole. Kind of like that axis that we've talked about in science, that imaginary axis that runs through. Except that this one is kind of like this pole that goes around my globe. This would be the prime meridian. Okay? And
Miss Bab,
yeah. I'm gonna
how do you spell that?
I will show you in just a second. So this is the prime meridian, and it divides us into a western hemisphere and an eastern hemisphere. Oh, Lord, I can't spell. Okay, let me present again. Where'd my vocabulary go? All right, prime meridian is on here. I just got to find it. Here we go. It's number 15. The line of longitude located at 0 degrees. It is okay, the line of longitude. So we're going to learn about what longitude is.
Longitude and latitude.
Longitude and latitude, right? Those are words you might have heard, longitude and latitude. Okay. You did learn about them last year?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're going to talk more about them this year. We've got an eastern hemisphere and now a western hemisphere. Again, hemi means half. So half of the sphere of Earth, eastern half, western half. Prime meridian divides us in an eastern and a western half. Okay? Now, so that's your next definition you're going to write down. We've got equator, we've got prime meridian. Next, we're going latitude and longitude. Okay?
We hope to remember that like latitude was up because it's like a.
All right. So your next word, we're going to go with latitude next, which is number 7. Okay. Latitude. Wait a minute. Let me go back up. I remember it like this. Latitude makes me think of a ladder that you can climb. Okay? You guys see me? It makes me think of a ladder you can climb, which means those lines run left to right. Okay? So there are lines of latitude. They're imaginary. Okay, there aren't actual lines on the ground. But so these are imaginary lines that run all the way. You can see on my map here that run all the way around the globe.
Wait, is that how you like figure out like coordinates and stuff?
It is. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but so again, this is latitude I'm drawing, these light blue dots. How do I spell latitude? One eye. All right. Latitude. Latitude, again, it runs left to right like the rungs of a ladder. That's how you're going to remember that, okay? Latitude are lines left to right. It tells us how far north or south of the equator we are. So if I said, and we don't give directions like this, if I said, okay, I live at latitude 85 north. Sean says, what the heck does that mean? 85 north, then I would need to go 85 degrees north of the equator, and that's where I would be. So if I'm looking at my globe, and I'll go around the room for you guys to see, if I get really close, do you guys see that there's little black stripes that are running sideways around the road? Those are the imaginary lines of latitude. And if I look, let's see here, right here, do you guys see that there's numbers on each line? Like this one says 40, 30, 50. Okay. Let me come around and show them as well. So those numbers are considered degrees. Okay. And we measure, Jason, you need to listen. We measure latitude and longitude by degrees. So you can see the lines that are running around, right? And they have numbers on 30, 40, 50. And so that's how far north. So if I follow those latitude lines around, Missouri is at approximately, I don't know, 38, 39, it looks like on here. Here's 30 and 40, and Missouri is in between the 30 and the 40. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's the 30, 40, 50. Here's Missouri over here. In between the 30 and 40. So that's how we measure. All right, gentlemen. Get around.
So would you say?
So see, like these lines here are the latitude 30, 40, 50. Missouri's over here. We're kind of close to the 40, but not quite. Make sense? Yeah. All right, hang on. Let me get back up here so they can hear too.
Miss Beth, can I see?
Oh, you didn't see?
Well,
Harper, did you see?
a little bit.
Under that spot.
So 30, 40, 55. Here's Missouri.
Exact coordinates. Would it be? Would you say like 50 latitude and like 20 longitude?
This is the first
Say,
time I ever.
yeah. Well, we're actually going to talk about that. Not today. In a couple of days, we're going to talk about it. It's called absolute location, and we're going to talk about it. So, relative location means next door to McDonald's. Walmart is next door to McDonald's in relation to another place. Or I could give you the exact coordinates of McDonald's and say that it is this many degrees north and this many degrees east or west of the equator and Prime Meridian. Okay, so latitude runs left to right. It runs from east and west. And we can measure north and south. So with latitude, we measure north and south, okay? So make sure that that is in your notes, that latitude is how we measure degrees north or degrees south of the equator. The distance north or south from the equator, okay? So everything is measured in relationship to the equator. What I showed them when I walked around, I don't know how easy it will be for you guys to see on here. Hang on, let me pin myself so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, on the globe, here's Missouri, right here, this yellow one. And if I follow it around, it's just underneath that black line. And I follow that around. I went the wrong way. Hang on, let me go back the other way. Here's Missouri again. Okay, that little yellow guy there. And it's just underneath this black line. If I follow that black line around, we are just underneath 40 degrees north. Okay, so I would guess somewhere 35, 36, 37, 38 degrees north is about where we are, and we're going to look that up on a different day. Okay, now if latitude measures this way, what do you guys think that longitude measures?
Long ways. Yeah,
Long ways, I guess you could say up and down. Okay, so the longitude is long, up and down. Lily, hand raised.
Oh, I was just saying long.
Oh, she's just showing me longitude, high in the sky. So then I have a bunch of those same black lines on my globe, but these run up and down, and they measure how far you are east or west of the Prime Meridian. Okay, so this is longitude. It looks like longitude, but we say it longitude. Okay, and so it is the up and down lines, and on here it says longitude, the distance east or west from the Prime Meridian. So then if I looked at my globe, let's see, Missouri is here. We are right next to this one, which is 90 degrees, but I don't know if that's east or west. We'll find out when we look it up in a minute. Okay. All right. Let me see what other words we need today.
So
Sam.
These two make me think of something. Is launch angle. Like it's in baseball, like how much you swing your bat up, like the higher the angle, like the higher the launch angle is, and it's kind of like that because it's like 40 degrees, like that.
Okay. So you're measuring degrees of an angle. So
Yeah.
when you guys have heard things being measured in degrees before, you're right. But before, when you guys heard things being measured in degrees, we're either talking about the temperature gets measured in degrees or angles get measured in degrees, right?
A few.
So these are also measured. Latitude and longitude is also measured in degrees, except in this case, degrees is considered a type of distance, right? Okay. All right. So next word you're going to put on your vocabulary is map scale, which is number 11 on here. Let me scroll it down for you guys. Where's my... Okay. Part of a map that compares distance on a map to distance in the real world. So you might see something. How many of you guys have seen something on a map? Let me get a dark color here. And it says scale on it. And we're not talking about a scale you stand on,
A ruler scale?
but it'll look something like this, and it will say 1 inch is equal to 1 mile. So if I were to have a map, I wish I had a map. Hang on. I think I can find one. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be. I have one of
One
those
of
in my
mine's
office.
older.
All right.
I want to use one.
Here's a map. We're going to use it on a different day. But so on this map, there's not a map scale, but I could say that 1 inch on this map is the same as 1 mile in real life. Does that make sense? That would help me. Now, that's not right because this is the United States smushed down. But so it gives you, so you don't know, like it's hard for me to measure. If I said, how many miles is it from California to Maine? I don't know how to figure that out right now because I don't know how far 1 mile is. So how could I figure out how far it is from here to here? But if I knew that the size of my pinky nail was worth a mile, then I could count 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? So a map scale kind of helps you compare something that you can measure on the actual map, like using a ruler, versus what that measurement is equal to in real life. Okay. Z.
Well, that thing that my grandpa told me, it was.
Hang on, I'm hearing a lot of other voices in my room.
It actually has something to do with this, and so like a ruler, like everyone like usually says ruler, but that's like the wrong way to say it. A ruler is a leader of something. It's actually called a scale.
All right. I lost my black marker. This is sadness. Oh, here it is. Okay, so that is map scale. Map scale. All right, next word is legend.
Oh, when someone dies.
I think you guys, legend is number 8 on here. I think you guys know about legends. I think you've used these for a long time because I've seen my son Landon bring home map skills with legends on them. And the legend is like the thing that has,
Oh, I thought it was when someone like famous dies, it would become a legend.
like,
To tell you basically what the symbols are.
well, yeah, it tells you what the symbols mean. So if I saw a bunch of trees on a map, it might tell me that the trees symbolize a forest. Right. So it might show, right. So a legend might be something like this. Shows trees, shows water, something like that, right? You guys know about legends. This isn't new information. Go ahead and write it down though. It's a table that explains the symbols. Okay? Legend. And then Eastern Hemisphere and Western Hemisphere. We talked about that a little bit when we did the Prime Meridian. Let me see. I think they're on here. I don't know why. I almost knocked down my robot. That would be bad. It's just the half of the Earth west of the Prime Meridian. And we, if you look at number 18, we are in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? We are in North America and South America are in the Western Hemisphere. We're on the western half. So if I divide Earth up on the Prime Meridian, I've got North America here, South America here. This is the Western Hemisphere. So then if I'm considering this a silver bar here to be my Prime Meridian. Now on this side, I've got my Eastern Hemisphere, which is Africa, Europe, Asia, and way down here, Australia. Okay? China's part of Asia. Okay. All right. And then so Eastern Hemisphere, scroll up. The half of the Earth that is east of the Prime Meridian, that has Africa, Asia, Australia, and Europe. There was one continent that was not listed as Eastern or Western. Which continent was that?
South Africa. I mean, no, not South Africa. The South Pole.
South Pole is not a continent.
It's us, the North.
What is the name of that continent that's down?
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
South America.
Antarctica. No.
What?
Antarctica. This guy way down here. He's not really in the Eastern or Western because where is he?
In the middle.
He is smack dab in the middle of the bottom on the Southern Hemisphere
What
only.
about
Okay.
North
North America is entirely in the Northern Hemisphere. South America is mostly in the Southern Hemisphere, but there is a little bit still in the north. Australia is entirely in the south. Asia, Europe are entirely in the north. And Africa is half and half, northern and southern. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah. These are your vocabulary words for today. Pause for just a second. You guys, if you've written down these vocabulary words, you are good to go for today. Tomorrow, we're going to dig a little deeper in some more vocabulary and start applying things. I've got to get them ready to go, packed up, and heading to specials here in 5 minutes. Josie, yes, ma'am, you raised your hand.
So I wanted to know, so it doesn't fill out everything. There's still 4 more words. Do we save this as a draft or what?
You can save it as a draft, yeah, because we've got more words. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
My chair, my desk is all muddy. Can I